My name is Alex, and at 32 years old, I never expected to wake up one morning to find my own mother, the woman who raised me, had vanished with $10 million of my hard-earned money from her safe. If you're wondering how I could possibly laugh at such a devastating betrayal, stick around. You're about to hear a story that will twist your gut, make your heart race, and then leave you with a shocking truth you won't see coming. Before we dive in, do me a favor. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from. Hit that like button if you're ready for a story that defies belief, and subscribe to see how this unbelievable tale unfolds. You won't regret it. Life for me started in the kind of place where dreams went to die, or at least, they had to fight tooth and nail just to breathe. Our apartment, number 3B on Elm Street, was a testament to struggle. The wallpaper in the living room peeled in curling strips, revealing layers of forgotten lives beneath. Every morning, the scent of stale grease from my mom's diner uniform clung to the air, a constant reminder of her endless shifts. Through the thin walls, I could always hear Mrs. Rodriguez's telenovelas and the arguments of the young couple upstairs, a symphony of urban despair that became the soundtrack to my childhood. We didn't have much, but what we lacked in money, we made up for in something far more precious, my mother, Elena. She was a force of nature, a tiny woman with hands calloused from years of scrubbing dishes and a spirit forged in the fires of adversity. She always told me, "Alex, money comes and goes, but your word, your heart, that's what truly matters." I believed her with every fiber of my being. I remember her coming home late, her feet aching, her eyes tired, but always full of love when she looked at me. She'd bring home leftover fries, a small treat that felt like a feast. I swore then, a promise whispered to the peeling paint on my bedroom ceiling, that I would make it, not just for myself, but for her. I wanted to erase every trace of that grease smell, every sound of struggle, every worn-out thread in her uniform. I worked odd jobs from the moment I was old enough, bussing tables, delivering newspapers, anything to bring a few extra dollars home. My loyalty to her was absolute, my gratitude boundless. She was my rock, my reason, my entire world. She sacrificed everything for me, and I intended to repay that debt 1,000 times over, not just with money, but with the security and peace she deserved. My journey out of poverty wasn't a sudden burst of luck. It was a slow, agonizing climb, fueled by relentless effort and a desperate hunger for something better. I discovered my knack for coding almost by accident, tinkering with old computers I found discarded on the curb. Hours turned into days, days into weeks, hunched over glowing screens, teaching myself the language of the future. I ate ramen noodles for months, slept on a mattress on the floor, and poured every ounce of my energy into building something, anything, that could lift us out of the grime of Elm Street. There were countless setbacks, moments of crushing doubt when the code wouldn't compile, when the ideas felt too big, too impossible. But then I'd remember Mom's tired eyes, the smell of that uniform, and I'd push harder. I landed a small freelance gig, then another, slowly building a reputation. My first major breakthrough came with a mobile game I developed, a simple puzzle that inexplicably went viral. Within 6 months, it had over 50 million downloads. The money started pouring in, not in trickles, but in a torrent. I bought Mom a beautiful house in a quiet, tree-lined suburb, a place where the only sounds were birds chirping and children laughing, not the constant hum of city struggle. I replaced her old car, paid off all her debts, and insisted she quit the diner. "Your working days are over, Mom," I told her, my voice thick with emotion. "You deserve to rest." Her eyes, usually so weary, sparkled with a joy I'd rarely seen. It was the proudest moment of my life. I set up a trust for her, ensuring she'd never have to worry about money again. And then, there was the $10 million. This wasn't just any money. It was the seed capital for my next big venture, a groundbreaking tech platform I was developing. It was too much to keep in a regular bank account, too sensitive for digital trails just yet. I needed a secure, temporary place, somewhere I trusted implicitly. And who do you trust more than your own mother? Her old, heavy safe, the one she'd kept hidden in her closet for decades, seemed like the perfect, impenetrable vault. I watched her carefully place the stacks of crisp, new hundreds inside, her face beaming with pride and a touch of awe. "It'll be safe here, Alex," she promised, her hand resting on mine. "Safer than any bank." I believed her. I truly, deeply believed her. The morning I discovered the betrayal felt like a punch to the gut, a physical blow that left me gasping for air. It was a Tuesday, a day that should have been filled with excitement as I prepared to finalize the deal that would launch my new platform. I drove to Mom's house, humming, already mentally rehearsing my presentation. The front door was unlocked, which was unusual, but I didn't think much of it. "Mom, I'm here." I called out, but there was no answer. A strange quiet hung in the air, a silence that felt heavy wrong. I walked through the house, calling her name, a knot of unease tightening in my stomach. The kitchen was clean, the bed was made, but there was no sign of her. My heart started to pound, a frantic drumbeat against my ribs. I tried her phone, but it went straight to voicemail. That's when a cold dread began to creep in. I went to her bedroom, my steps suddenly heavy, and pulled open the closet door. The old, heavy safe, usually tucked away in the back, was slightly ajar. My blood ran cold. My hands started to shake uncontrollably as I reached for the safe door. It swung open with a soft click, revealing nothing. The space where the stacks of money had been, the $10 million, was empty. Just a hollow, echoing void. My breath caught in my throat. It felt like the air had been sucked out of the room, out of my lungs. No, this couldn't be happening. Not Mom. Not her. My mind raced, trying to find any other explanation. A robbery? But there were no signs of forced entry, no mess, nothing disturbed. Just the empty safe and a chilling, unnatural silence. My phone buzzed in my hand, and I saw a text message. Not from Mom, but from an unknown number. It was a photo of Mom, smiling, on a beach somewhere tropical, holding a ridiculously large cocktail. And beneath it, a single line of text. "Having fun, kiddo. Don't worry, I'll send a postcard." My world tilted. The betrayal hit me with such force that I actually stumbled back, collapsing onto the bed. My heart was racing, my vision blurring. This wasn't just money. It was trust, it was love. It was everything I thought I knew about the one person I believed would never, ever hurt me. The woman who taught me about integrity had just stolen my future. And then a strange, almost hysterical laugh bubbled up from deep inside me. A laugh that was more a gasp, a choked sound of disbelief mixed with a chilling realization, because of what was inside the safe. But you'll have to wait to find out what that was. The weeks that followed were a blur of disbelief, anger, and a crushing sense of betrayal. The laughter I'd let out that morning, born of sheer shock and a strange, dark humor, quickly faded, replaced by a hollow ache. I filed a police report, but they looked at me with a mix of pity and skepticism. "Your own mother, sir? Are you sure? How do you explain that to anyone? How do you explain that the person who was supposed to be your safe harbor had just torpedoed your entire life?" The news of the missing funds, whispered through the tech community, started to jeopardize my new platform. Investors, once eager, grew hesitant. The launch date, once so firm, began to slip. I felt like I was drowning, pulled under by a current of despair and public humiliation. I hired a private investigator, a gruff, no-nonsense woman named Detective Miller, who promised to find Elena, but even she seemed baffled by the sheer audacity of it all. People don't just vanish with $10 million, especially not their own mother, she grumbled, shaking her head. Every phone call, every email, every knock on the door brought a fresh wave of false hope, only to be dashed by another dead end. 6 weeks later, there was still no trace of Elena, no explanation, just the gaping wound of her absence and the crushing weight of my ruined dreams. My friends, bless their hearts, tried to offer comfort. But how do you comfort someone whose entire foundation of trust has been ripped out from under them? I felt isolated, adrift, utterly alone in a sea of questions. The smell of peeling wallpaper and diner grease, long gone from my physical surroundings, now clung to my mind, a phantom scent of the struggle I thought I'd escaped, now threatening to pull me back down. After 3 months of relentless searching, countless dead ends, and the slow, agonizing realization that my mother was truly gone, the emotional toll became unbearable. The initial shock had given way to a simmering rage, a burning question of why, that gnawed at my insides. My lawyer, a sharp, cynical man named Mr. Henderson, advised me to cut my losses. It's a civil matter now, Alex. And frankly, finding someone who doesn't want to be found, especially with that kind of money, is like finding a needle in a haystack made of diamonds. His words, though practical, felt like a cold slap in the face. My new tech platform, once my pride and joy, was on the brink of collapse. The initial investment was gone, and without it, the entire project was dead in the water. I was facing financial ruin, legal battles, and the crushing weight of a very public failure. My carefully built empire, meant to honor my mother, was crumbling because of her. The irony was a bitter pill. I spent my days staring at the empty safe, a constant, mocking reminder of my misplaced trust. The nights were worse, filled with restless sleep and replays of every moment, every kind word, every sacrifice my mother had made, now twisted into a cruel deception. Was it all a lie? Was our entire life together a performance, leading up to this ultimate betrayal? The thought was unbearable. Then, just when I was at my lowest, when I felt like I had nothing left to lose, the plot twist arrived. And it wasn't just surprising, it was earth-shattering. Detective Miller, her voice usually flat and professional, sounded different on the phone that day. "Alex, I think you need to come down to the office. We found something." My heart, long since numb, gave a faint flutter of something like hope. I drove there, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles were white. When I walked into her office, she pushed a file across the desk. "We found Elena. Or rather, what's left of her trail." My breath hitched. She's alive?" I asked, a desperate hope blooming in my chest. Miller shook her head. "No, Alex. She died 6 months ago, before you ever put that money in her safe." My mind reeled. "What? That's impossible. I saw her. I talked to her. She put the money in the safe herself." Miller held up a hand. "I know this is difficult, but we have medical records, death certificates. Elena Petrova passed away from a sudden heart attack 6 months ago. The woman you saw, the woman who took your money, that wasn't your mother." The world spun. It wasn't my mother? But who was it? A chilling realization began to dawn on me, a memory flickering to life from years ago. My mother had a twin sister, a distant relative named Anya, who had vanished from our lives decades ago after a bitter family dispute. A twin. The resemblance was uncanny, almost identical. My mother had always warned me about her, a shadowy figure from a painful past. "She's trouble, Alex. Stay away from her." But I hadn't seen Anya since I was a child. The pieces clicked into place with a sickening thud. The slight differences in her voice I dismissed as age, the subtle shift in her mannerisms I'd attributed to stress. It wasn't my mother who had betrayed me. It was her long-lost, estranged twin sister, Anya, who had somehow impersonated her, gained my trust, and orchestrated this elaborate, cruel deception. And that's why I laughed that morning. Because what was inside the safe wasn't just $10 million. It was a small, almost hidden compartment, built into the back wall of the safe, where I had placed a single, tiny, GPS-enabled tracking device, disguised as a harmless USB drive. I had put it there not because I distrusted my mother, but because I'm a tech guy, and I'm paranoid about large sums of money. It was a contingency, a just-in-case, for a world where anything can happen. And it just did. The revelation wasn't just shocking, it was empowering. The crushing weight of betrayal by my own mother lifted, replaced by a surge of cold, focused determination. This wasn't a personal vendetta against the woman who raised me. This was a calculated hunt for a cunning imposter. Anya. The name tasted bitter on my tongue. The GPS tracker, a tiny beacon of hope, had been silently transmitting its location for months, a secret I hadn't even known I possessed until that moment. Detective Miller, her eyes widening as I explained the device, immediately understood the game-changing implications. "You're telling me you have a live feed on $10 million? She asked, a rare grin spreading across her face. "This just got interesting, Alex." The struggle wasn't over, but the fight had fundamentally changed. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was a hunter. The confrontation wasn't in some dramatic, sun-drenched tropical paradise, but in a small, nondescript apartment in a quiet European city, a place the tracking device had led us to. Detective Miller and local authorities moved swiftly, quietly. I stood back, watching from a distance, my heart pounding with a mix of anticipation and a strange, almost detached curiosity. When they finally brought her out, Anya, she looked exactly like my mother, but her eyes held a coldness, a calculating glint that Elena never possessed. She didn't look surprised, only resigned. "Alex," she said, her voice eerily similar to my mother's, but lacking the warmth. "I knew you'd find me eventually." "Why, Anya?" I asked, my voice steady, betraying none of the turmoil inside me. "Why pretend to be her? Why steal from me?" She shrugged, a subtle movement that spoke volumes. Elena always had everything. The good life, the loving son. I had nothing, just a life of scraping by, always in her shadow. Her gaze hardened. "When I found out she was gone, and I saw your trust fund, your millions, it was too easy. A chance to finally have what I deserved, what she had." There was no remorse in her voice, only a deep-seated bitterness, a twisted sense of entitlement. She truly believed she was owed this. The money, a significant portion of it, was recovered, stashed in various hidden compartments throughout the apartment. It wasn't about the money for me anymore. It was about the truth, about reclaiming my identity from the shadow of a betrayal that wasn't even real. Justice, in this case, felt earned, not just handed down. It was the satisfaction of knowing that the person who tried to destroy me, who preyed on my love and trust, had been outsmarted by the very thing they sought to steal. Life after the events didn't snap back to normal overnight. The emotional scars ran deep. The initial shock of the betrayal, followed by the dizzying relief of the truth, left me in a strange emotional limbo. It took time, therapy, and the unwavering support of my true friends to process it all. I learned that trust, once broken, is incredibly difficult to rebuild, even when the betrayer isn't who you thought they were. The memory of my real mother, Elena, became even more precious, untainted by the deception. I launched my tech platform, albeit a few months late, and it found incredible success. The recovered money, now clean and secure, allowed me to pursue my dreams without the shadow of financial ruin. But the biggest lesson wasn't about money or technology. It was about discernment, about looking beyond the surface, even when it's someone you think you know intimately. It taught me that even in the closest relationships, there can be hidden complexities, and that sometimes the most painful truths are the ones that set you free. So, what's the actionable wisdom you can take from my unbelievable story? First, always trust your gut, even when it feels illogical. That tiny voice, that flicker of unease, it's often trying to tell you something important. Second, true security isn't just about what you protect, but how you protect it. Sometimes the most unexpected solutions come from thinking outside the box, from having a just-in-case plan for everything. And finally, betrayal, no matter how painful, can be a catalyst for profound growth. It forces you to reevaluate, to strengthen your boundaries, and to truly understand who you are when everything else is stripped away. My story is extreme, yes, but the underlying lessons about trust, vigilance, and resilience apply to everyone. Have you ever experienced a shocking betrayal that taught you a profound lesson? Or perhaps a moment where your instincts saved you from disaster? Share your stories in the comments below. Let's build a community where we can learn from each other's experiences, where we can share the wisdom gained from life's most unexpected twists. Hit that like button if you found this story compelling, and subscribe to join us as we continue to explore the incredible, unbelievable, and often shocking truths that life throws our way. The journey is far from over, and I promise, you won't want to miss what comes next.